Tell me a bit about bears, would you?
Yeah.
Because first of all, like to a hunter, is what does a bear represent? Is it something to look out for? Is it something people hunt? And you've had a couple run-ins with them, so
Yeah, I think really everybody loves to hear about bears because most people are not even in bear country. They may never see a wild bear. And wild bears and bears that are portrayed in television or stories are completely different than you might run into while in the field. Was it not last year, but the year prior? We were doing a filming project for Meat Eaters, which is on Netflix. We're on a Fognac Island
it's in Alaska.
in Alaska. So it's a small island off of the island of Kodiak. And it's got some of the largest brown bears in the world. And we were hunting elk there, but these bears, there's no inhabitants on the island. Really, it's pretty natural. Now the elk were actually released on this island, so they're non-native. But the bears there are some of the largest bears in the world. Now they have a lot of access to fish and other things, so when they have food, they aren't very aggressive. But when they don't have food, really anything can become food. Sorry.
They're omnivores, like
Yeah,
that, right?
they are.
Okay.
You'll see, depending on the time of year, when the berries are gone and the fish is gone, they predate heavily on the elk or the deer on the island. Anything they can get their hands on, really.
And they can
before
kill
they hibernate.
elk and deer.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because
They're extremely fast.
They're fast.
Yeah.
Okay, something you don't think a
Yeah,
bear
you
is
don't
fast.
think no, they're very fast. I would say, I don't at a short distance. Now they'll top out, their speeds top out, but I have seen a bear charging after something running downhill, and they use that momentum like a bus that just can't be stopped, and that momentum gets going pretty fast. But they are extremely quick. It would surprise you how fast they are.
Okay.
So we were hunting in a fognac, and we'd taken an elk and we hung it up in a tree. And because the weight of it was probably where we got the elk and where our camp was. We had to climb up the top of a mountain, down into a valley, and then miles out. Is an all-day trek to get to there and back. So we got the elk. So we took out a bunch of the meat the first trip in our backpacks, climbed back up to the top of the mountain, down in the valley to camp. The next day, and then so we leave the meat hanging in a tree out of the reach of bears. Okay. Because it cools the meat, it keeps it like a natural refrigeration. Because the whole point is to get all the meat back. So to move an animal that might be 1,000 pounds on the hoof, just on your back, it takes a lot of trips.
Okay.
You're moving the meat. And then there was a couple camera operators filming, and then myself and Steve who were hunting. I think there was 5 or 6 of us in total. So we go back the next day and we walk up to the tree and do all the make noise, and hopefully, we glassed the area with our binoculars, looked in there, made sure there was no bears, but it's fairly thick terrain, a lot of willows and other thick brush. So we work up to the tree. I was actually lagging behind at that point. And you generally have bear deterrent in these situations because there is the potential that a bear could attack. So I was hunting elk with a bow, but I had a pistol and a bear spray.
Bear spray.
Bear
Okay.
spray. So
Which
it's
works
like
pretty well.
Yes, but there's a few exceptions, and I can get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, you would prefer to use the bear spray for a lot of reasons, because to shoot a charging animal with a pistol is a difficult task. And the bear spray you can spray in a fan motion, it will run into the cloud. So it's like a very large, it's almost like a miniature fire extinguisher full of pepper spray.
Okay.
And so the thought is you spray it, and then it can stick on the grass and other stuff. And as the bear runs in, his senses are overloaded, just like cops might use bear spray on an assailant, somebody attacking them. It's supposed to stop.
Okay.
So the downside to the bear spray is with the winds blowing in your face, you really can't use it.
Could you spray yourself?
You'd spray yourself, and you probably wouldn't get it where it needs to go. So we get to the tree, and we do our inspection. Steve got up to the tree first, and it looked like there's like this there's some like bear shit there, and it looked like somebody had stepped in it. But we thought, oh, maybe it was us in our. It didn't look fresh. It wasn't fresh, but somebody had stepped in it, and we thought, well, maybe it was one of us stepping in it last night when in the dark when we hung the meat in the tree. So we're gonna get ready to go, and it'd been all day, majority of the day. We got up 4 a.m., started walking, and then get to the spot. It's about lunchtime or later, maybe. And we decide, okay, we're all hungry. Before we trudge back with all this meat, we might as well just sit down and have a sandwich, make some coffee. So we'd sat down in kind of a semicircle almost. I set my pack down, and then we decided we were going to fire up a jet boil, which is just like a little propane canister that you can heat water in. And I'm going to gather. I don't want to dump all my water in there and everybody drink coffee from my bottle of water that I've been carrying all day, you know? So we're gonna, if you want coffee, pour a little water in the pot, enough for a cup. So I'm going around gathering water and set the guy that has a jet boil, give him the little canister. And then I had taken my pack off and my pistol and bear spray was attached to my pack. And then my plan was generally when I took my pack off, I would swap the deterrents onto my waist belt. And I took my pack off and thought, well, when I was sitting there, they were both right there. But when I came back, somebody had happened to just sit where I was sitting. So I just thought, okay, well, so I sit here. There's like a little bank cut out as well. So I'm sitting and you would be where my pack is. And then there's Giannis off to my right here. And then Steve was where you are. And then I think Garrett was here. And then two other guys behind me. And we're sitting there eating sandwiches. And one of the guys was making the sandwiches, and he passes Steve a sandwich. I'm like, man, there's a lot more meat on that sandwich. So I was like, hey, we were just kind of joking around. And he gets this look on his face. So I'm like, I hear something, like he heard something, bear. And I look out, and I could see over the back of where Steve was sitting. There, I saw it coming in, and the memory of it seems like it was just slow motion. You just remember the hair shaking and thinking to yourself, this is it. I'm not going to survive this one.
How far out was he, and what does he look like?
Probably 20 yards at this point. His eyes were fixed, and he's a full charge, a dead run. As fast as I could.
So how fast is he going, you reckon?
25 miles an hour, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah, like fast.
So it's seconds.
Yeah. Just imagine a car at 20 yards hitting the accelerator going, that's about as long as it takes. I tried to go for the gun just to try to grab something, bear spray. So he actually charged with the wind, and the wind was really strong that day. It ended up being over gale force winds, and he came with the wind, so the bear spray wouldn't have even made it.
Okay.
There was nothing, the bear spray wouldn't have. So I was actually going for my pistol. And the time it took me to get up and go to my pack, he was already right there. And I did almost what I consider a football juke move, like juked right, juked left, rolled this way, and then I turned and it was just kind of chaos. Everyone yelling, bear, bear, hey! And then I see as I turn around, my back was then to it because I thought, oh, he's going to get me. And then he had wheeled around. I had no clue what happened. And then I see legs and the bear going down the mountain. Oh, shit, he's got someone. So I grab the pistol and start going down, like below where he disappeared to. And I yell, like, who's missing? Count off. Everyone's like, one, like just cluster F. No, like who's gone? I definitely saw someone in a bear gone. Well,
is he making noise and roaring and stuff?
Yeah, it's like what had happened was, imagine us sitting here having a conversation, a few other people, this little dog, a person, and people around, and then all of a sudden a bear just comes in.
And how big's the bear, you reckon?
Around 1,000 pounds.
And like 11 feet
tall.
Yeah,
if he's standing on his legs, 11 feet probably. Could look into a 2-story building. Just a huge animal.
Okay.
Like a good-sized cow type animal that has teeth and claws and is coming in to kill you. And when we exploded, it was just pandemonium, and it was a lot of noise. And he, instead of, I think he was running in and thought whatever was under that tree was one thing.
Okay.
And he was going to come in and kill that one thing. And when we exploded into 6 things, it just caused confusion. Instead of going for one person, he was going for everyone at once.
Okay.
And he didn't know one target to pick. Now, what ended up happening, Giannis, who was sitting right next to me, when I went forward, somehow I went forward, tried to go for the pistol, couldn't make the pistol, turned to run. And then I think as I turned or whatever, he turned this way and grabbed his trekking pole and then hit the bear in the face with the trekking pole. And that's what got it to turn around. Then somehow when it turned around in the confusion, it must have hit. So the guy that was downhill popped up. He was fine. Somehow he was like back to back with the bear. Like the bear wheeled around and he was on the bear's back. And so at the point of the one thing exploding into 6, he's trying to go for everyone at once, gets hit in the face, then somebody's on his back. It just was the confusion. And that's what saved us in that situation.
And he took off, and the guy was on his back, and then he fell off his back.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It was just like massive chaos. And then the bear, so then we circle up. Giannis gets his pistol. I don't know if anybody else grabbed bear. I was pretty fast because the bear was still there, but we just couldn't see him. So we circle around a tree, and then the bear, you could hear the bear circling around us, you know, wolfing, and then he would charge in briefly, but not to the point where we could see him and just hear sticks breaking, and then would leave and then do that from a different angle. We were yelling, bear, hey, hey, throwing stuff into the bushes, just letting him know like we're aggressive, we're here.
Right.
And
you must have adrenaline flying through your body.
Yeah.
How is your hand not shaking at this point?
At this point, you're just thinking, if he comes out, we need to make a good shot, or you're just thinking like we need to stop this bear.
So you got the pistol out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had, I think at that point, somebody else had the pepper spray. So when he got to the downwind side, then the pepper spray would work.
Okay.
Which would be awesome. That's
the last thing you want to do is spray yourself.
Spray, yeah.
With pepper.
Correct.
I mean, that would just...
In that kind of wind, it just wouldn't work.
Okay.
And then, so we, at that point, then we don't hear the bear for a while. We get the meat out of the tree. We just kind of throw everything on our shoulders, make a formation, get to a clearing where at least we have eyes on the area. Okay. If something's coming in, we'll be a little more prepared.
So you take the meat. You don't leave the meat behind.
No, we do not leave the meat.
No hunter. You're not
We're
gonna
like, we don't leave the meat behind. I'd rather get taken by a bear than leave the meat behind.
For the bear, or leave it behind?
No, I would personally rather get attacked by the bear than leave the meat behind.
Why?
You just don't do that.
Okay.
I mean, you killed that elk. It's your responsibility to take that meat out. I didn't actually kill the elk, but it was our responsibility as a team. We weren't going to leave the meat there.
That's interesting.
Leave the meat to rot in a tree. Like, I could never live with myself knowing that I did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about leave it for the bear?
No.
Were you angry at the bear?
No, the bear was just being the bear.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he was just being a bear. Was it a scary experience? Heck yeah. I've been charged by bears before, but a lot of them have all been bluff charges. That was an actual, you could see the intent in that bear's eye. It was a very scary experience because you knew he wanted to kill you. And he was going in, and we just essentially survived based on a survival tactic of a lot of prey animals. So like a covey of quail, when they jump out, all of them fly at once and the fox can't figure out which one to jump at, or a bunch of zebras running and confusing the cheetah or the lion.
So you should all be
mass
dead.
Confusion. Yeah, if it was one person, I know for a fact if I was there by myself, I would not have survived. Or yeah, I just couldn't see how I would have survived that.
And like,
or anyone, any of the 6 of us, if we were there by ourselves.
And
or
even if
just one
you're
other
together, and there's other scenarios where he would have taken a few of you out.
Yeah.
And even once he takes a few of you out, it's easy to take more of you out.
I think if he had got one person, he would have stopped.
Okay.
It would have been, yeah. I think if he would have latched onto one person, he probably would have attacked that one person until everybody could have got him off that person with either the bear spray or whatever.
Okay. What'd your wife think of that story?
She's like, that's not cool. I mean, it's just one of those things where you're in their territory. sooner or later, like bear attacks happen quite often in that. You might think, well, bear attacks are pretty rare, but it's pretty rare that people are even in the areas where they live.
Right.
The odds go dramatically up when you're in their turf, really. But I take a lot of precautions to avoid bears and have my deterrence and other things. It just so happened that the one time you get attacked is the time you aren't prepared. But then I think back after that moment of all the times that I was not prepared other times.
Yeah.
So it just happens that we weren't prepared, and that's when we got attacked.
If you had your pistol on your hip, could you have made a clean shot and hit him, you think, in that time?
I don't know. I think I could have, yes, because of the way that he was coming in straight. But I also think that maybe at the first go, maybe a warning shot or something might have just snapped him out of it. Okay. Like, boom, that loud noise or his adrenaline could have just, because I've been in other situations where it might be a bluff charge and a shot into the ground just stops them and they just, but maybe they never had intentions of actually making a full charge either. It's hard to say.
It's a pretty good story.
Yeah.
Pretty good bear story.
Yeah. The funny part about that is after we got attacked by a bear, you don't think you're going to get attacked by a bear until one attacks you. And then at that moment, you immediately think you're going to continually get attacked by bears. Like the entire trip out, oh, there's a bear. Oh, there's a bear. You know, like the bears just happened. We hadn't seen a bear the entire week. And yet that happened. And then we saw, I think, 2 bears after that. Then we climb up over the pass back to camp with all the meat. That wind had just picked up, probably close to 100-mile-an-hour winds, raining sideways. We look, our camp was completely flattened by the weather. So now we're in survival mode. We've just got attacked by a bear. Now we have to gather up all our stuff. I saw one guy's sleeping bag and pad out in the big flat. It's getting soaking wet. So we ended up having to repitch the tents into a spruce tree. We had a bear fence around our camp, which is just like, almost like a thick like cord that's like electric fence, like you'd put around for cattle or something.
Okay.
And it runs off D-cell batteries. You touch it and it barely does anything, but it's like a mental thing that you think.
Make you feel better.
Yeah, you feel good about sleeping out there in that.
Oh yeah, I saw the video you shot on your mobile phone afterwards. It did not look like a pleasant place to be.
No.
I mean, it was rainy and windy and pretty horrible.
Through horrible brush and hiking a lot of miles. It's just a place that beats you up.
But that you guys like that to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, it's a weird kind of fun. Like the first time I went to that place, me and my brother thought, I'll never go back here. And I've been back, I think, 3 or 4 times now. Because it's just like some weird form of challenge and punishment of the elements there. It's like if I'm going to be hunting anyways, you remember it. There's like an element of it just sucking. It just sucks. Everything about it sucks. You're wet the entire time. You're uncomfortable. It's hard. You shoot something and it's so heavy. Now the meat's some of the best meat I've ever had. Maybe it's just because it's the hardest you've ever worked. You don't really know the equation, but it just works out like that.
Why is it that the things we enjoy in the moment, a lot of times we don't remember as being fun, and then the things we hate in the moment, later we look back and say, that was great, and we want to do it again?
Exactly. It just triggers something. It makes it a memory that sticks. And we like to have memories that stick. Experiences that stick.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just going through life and this day-to-day thing, and you look back and you go, what have I done? Everything's been the same.
Yeah,
you become bored and
no adversity.
No adversity.
You're just surfing pleasure to pleasure to pleasure, which at the time might feel good, but
later on, you're just like, what did I do?
Right.
I don't remember it. And then looking back on those experiences that just really suck, you go, yeah, I'd do that again.